Welcome to 20 Minute Tabletop, a weekly podcast about board, card and miniature games. And in this episode, I've got a really interesting chat with Pete, who's set up a new hobby store. But we're also going to delve into the gaming culture of the British military, an old game called Clag, and how Games Workshop work with new hobby stores. Welcome, Pete. You are starting out with a new hobby store called Battle Pads, but I imagine there's quite a journey until you got to this point. So why don't you introduce yourself and let us know how on earth you got to this point here.
Hi, Kev. My name's Pete Hodson, and I am the co-owner of Battle Pads Hobby Shop, which is a business I have started in Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire with my father.
Obviously, being in a garrison, this is on a military base. So is the shop actually going to be on a military base? Because that's quite unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, so Catterick Garrison's quite unique. It's a very large camp, but it's got lots of little bases scattered around. So the actual camp itself, or the garrison itself, is like open to everybody. There's lots of shops, and you get your Tesco's and your McDonald's, and our shop is just located on there.
How many people are we talking? Because I've never been to one of these garrisons. We're talking many hundreds, if not thousands of people, I guess.
Many thousand. Yeah,
many thousands.
Many thousand. Yeah, I think so. There's a good few thousand people on Catterick Garrison. There's lots of different regiments, lots of different barracks. Yeah.
So, of course, you are in the forces yourself. So, tell us a little bit about that, Pete.
I'm actually in the Royal Air Force, so nothing to do with Catterick Garrison at all. That's just it's the final resting place of my father's career, let's say. So he finished his 22 years in One King's Regiment, and we settled in Catterick Garrison. And then I joined the Air Force as a Air and Space Operations Manager.
Wow, that sounds cool. It sounds like the kind of job that you're not allowed to talk about on a gaming podcast, to be honest with you.
I wish it was that cool. I really do. It's definitely not that cool.
Well, I know that Tom's lad, Len, a shout out to Len, is mega into a kind of all things aerospace. So I'm sure he and many other people that listen to the podcast would be interested to know how you got into a career in the Air Force. I imagine you've been all kinds of crazy places as well.
Yeah, I've done a little bit, actually. I've been in the Air Force 11 years now. I started out in Northumberland at RAF Bulmer. We've got a CRC up there, basically a Cold War underground bunker. And that's where we conduct our sort of air surveillance. So 24-hour surveillance, 365 days a year. I've spent a lot of time at Bulmer on shift, so 12 hours a day down in the CRC, playing games with people in our downtime, let's say.
Is this somehow related to the RAF Flyingdales? Is it all
that kind of
network? That's Flyingdales, sorry.
Flyingdales, yeah. So it's actually the same branch, the same trade and branch. Luckily, that's where I want to go next. I'm currently with 16 Regiment Royal Artillery, so working with the Army down in Portsmouth. And my next posting, I want to go to Flyingdales, but we will see, because I don't usually get what I want.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, and from our chat on the text before, you've got a hell of a commute at the moment. You're going from the bottom of the country right back up to the top, aren't you?
I think it's about half an hour off commuting the length of the country. So Portsmouth to, which is near where RAF Bulmer is. Yeah.
Gordon, Ben, how long does that take?
Averages out about between 8 and 9 hours.
That's absolute madness. Although we do have listeners in like Australia and America, so that's probably just like a completely average daytime commute.
That's just the commute for them, yeah.
So I've been in contact with a few people in the forces who are in the gaming sphere. I don't know if you've come across them. There's a lad called Scott who's big on Instagram. He's got a veterans group. I don't know whether it's a charity, but it's called Plays with Soldiers, and it works with people who've left the forces. And then there's another lad called Nick Denning who's come up with a fantastic game called Foxhounds, and I hope to get him on the podcast at some point in the near future. And then, of course, now yourself. So it sounds like in the British military, at least, there's a bit of a gaming scene. Is that the case?
Absolutely. The gaming scene in the military is pretty huge, I would say, from esports to board gaming such as like Warhammer. It's really big and only getting bigger. Like it really is, because not only do we get, sometimes we're away from our families quite a lot. Spending time with each other, getting involved in board games and things like that is really useful for people's morale, but it actually brings a lot of skills into play as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember back in the 80s and 90s with all I think you're roughly the same age as me. We're in our 40s now. nearly.
Oh, we're nearly 40.
I'm just over the edge of that. But yeah, so the 80s, 90s army advert was, "This is Frank." And it was all the exciting things that Frank would do. He was like some character. He was like, 1 minute he's skiing, the next minute he's playing rugby, and the next minute he's in a desert, like in a dune buggy. And
Yeah.
the big advertising campaign at the time was that the army or the military will pay for you to do these activities. And I've heard now that you can effectively get paid. You're on the clock whilst playing in Warhammer tournaments and things like that. Is that actually true?
Absolutely. Like, the advert you're talking about now, so throw in esports and gaming, and it's the same adverts now. Do you know what I mean? We get to do all these cool things, skiing, like, sailing, scuba diving, but now introduce gaming, wargaming, and esports as well. Esports is huge. Just up till recently, I was the IC of the RAF Call of Duty team. And in October, they went to an international tournament in America called Code Bowl, which the RAF actually won. So that is teams from all three forces in the UK. You've got the US Army, Space Force, US Marines, the Canadian Army, the Canadian Space Force. Lots of different services all come together and have a big Warzone tournament. And it's played on the day before the World Series of Warzone. And they are away as victors this year, which was very impressive.
Yeah, good effort. So were you into gaming before you got in the forces? Just something that's kind of come about in service?
I was into video gaming before I got into the forces. So, as a typical millennial, I grew up with a Nintendo 64, Sega Mega Drive. I mean, PS1 to 5, and that has been a lot of my life, really. A lot of my downtime I spent video gaming. I suppose only in recent years socializing and video gaming, like online. We used to have to pile around each other's house and play, I don't know, Championship Manager around a screen, that sort of thing. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time, a lot of years gaming. I would dread to see days counted gaming if there was one for across all consoles across your life. That'd be a tough read.
But then at some point you've migrated to tabletop. So do you want to talk us through that then? What did you start playing, and where are you at now in kind of your tabletop journey?
Okay. Yeah, so the tabletop gaming, or the sort of gaming other than video gaming, started in the military. When I was at RAF Bulmer, we would do sort of 12-hour shifts, and on the night shift, as you can understand, it's a lot quieter than it is in the daytime. So a lot less traffic in the sky for us to monitor. So it's much easier to all get around a table in the middle of the ops room and play card games, play Risk, play Catan. And it's when I was I was going to say a young AS1, but I was never a young AS1. I was quite old when I joined. But when I was an AS1 or an SAC, we just thrived off it. We'd all get round middle of the ops room, just playing a game called Clag, which is quite unique to the Air Force, a card game. It's like a play on trumps, let's say, but it takes 3 to 4 hours. So you just do like loads and loads of rounds of trumps, but it's really fun. Loads of different games, loads of different styles, and I mean it causes absolute murder in the ops room. It's really good.
This is particular to the British Air Force, is it?
I don't know for sure. I know it was. I think it was created by the Royal Air Force because Clag stands for Cloud Low Aircraft Grounded, and it was created in World War II when obviously pilots and that couldn't get airborne, so they were sat bored not doing nothing, so they play games. And it's funnily enough, we still that game in the Air Force like now, and how many years on is that? It's a seriously long time.
Go on, talk us through it then. How exactly do you play? So it's a standard deck of cards, presumably.
So standard deck of cards, maximum 7 players, and oh god, you're testing me here now. So and everyone gets dealt the cards, and it's basically trumps. So as you know, trumps, there is a sort of a top suit. So let's say it's hearts, and if you put a card down, I put a higher card down, I'm winning. If someone puts a higher card than you, they're winning. And then if someone has the trump suit obviously then they're in the lead. And then obviously it goes up and up until no one's got any cards left. But with Clag, there's loads of different categories. So you'll have a category where the dealer picks the trump suit, or you'll have it where there is no trump suit, or you'll have it where it's reversed. So 2s are high, aces are low, that sort of thing. And then as you go round, you're sort of winning hands. But at the beginning of the game, when you're looking at your 7 cards, you have to choose how many hands you think you're going to win. So you look at your cards and say, okay, I think I'm going to win 2 hands because of what your cards have got. And if you make your score, so if you win 2 hands, you'll get 2 points. If you don't make your score, you lose the value of what you've bet, basically. So as you can imagine, when people are trying to screw people over by holding certain cards because they want to win the last hand, or if someone, we're on the last hand and 2 people have bet 2 and they both need to win, there's lots of manipulation to try and do that.
That's amazing. So, but of course, this is now what, like 70 years old as a game. So, imagine compared to modern board gaming, it probably doesn't hold up quite the same. So, what are you playing at the moment? What regularly hits your table?
So, Catan's a good one. Catan's a really good game. It's because it's a little bit quicker, a little bit more engaging. So we like that. And then a favorite of ours when I was in the CRC was Game of Thrones Risk. That was also a really good game. But my biggest passion at the moment is Warhammer 40,000. That's where I'm at the moment. I can't see further past that. I'm trying to play like UKTC competitions around the UK. I play at the Solent Wargaming Club down in Portsmouth. And yeah, I'm not saying I'm very good because I'm not. I don't win many games when I go to these tournaments, but I really enjoy it. It's such a good experience. Everyone's really friendly, so it's really good. It's really good to get your head into.
What are you playing at the moment? What's your army?
I play World Eaters, so
okay,
very very melee heavy. Don't really get a shooting phase. Yeah, it's. I personally find it tough to like operate only in one phase because I don't really get a shooting phase. So it's difficult. The army's good at the minute. It's not in a bad place. It's quite well balanced. It's just I struggle with it.
Yeah, well, I struggle with all full-size army games. I'm a big miniature gamer, but I can only be dealing with skirmish games, to be quite honest with you.
There's
as I've
a
said
lot
on the
to think
podcast.
about.
Oh my goodness! Well, yeah, I dare say in something like Malifaux, there's a lot more to think about. On a single card of Malifaux, there will be like as much rules as an army in 40k, but you don't have. However many models on the table is 40k. It's a lot, isn't it? How long's a game now? Minimum 3 hours, I would have thought.
So competitions are 3 hours maximum. Friendly games, I think it's usually about 4 hours.
I see. With the various skirmish systems I play, they tend to be about 2 hours, but yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge fitting it in, can't it? Also, there's a lot of gear, isn't there, with a 40k army?
Yeah.
It's a few boxes worth.
Yeah, there really is a lot. Luckily, I've recently purchased one of those Jakoshi like cases and backpacks, and basically your box fits in it. All your army goes in, loads of pockets for all your gear. So you just chuck it on your back and away you go, which is really good.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, well, maybe that's what all that military training was for. It wasn't actually for carrying ammo or mounting sides. It's for,
I'm Air Force. There's no carrying anything. I sit in a chair.
Good man. Sounds a lot more sensible, to be honest with you. So all this, of course, has brought you on to setting up this hobby store. And it's called Battle Pads. It's on the Garrison. So have you actually physically moved into the store yet, or is this soon to be?
So my parents own 2 shops on Catterick Garrison. So they have a sandwich shop and a DIY/engraving and embroidery store. And the DIY and engraving shop is called Pads. And I've sort of commendated, let's say, a portion of their shop now and called it Battle Pads and turned it into a hobby shop. So no, we are open. We've been open around 3 months. We've actually come out the blocks pretty well. There's lots of people on the Garrison who are really enthused about wargaming. They come in and obviously, like like any sort of gaming store, really, when you go in and you just start chatting to the people in the store about the armies and the different factions and when you're next playing, where you're next playing, and it's really good. It's really good.
What is it you're stocking? Is it all Games Workshop products, or are you doing a bit of everything? Because obviously card games, from the few hobby store owners that I've talked to, and I've always wanted to ask, I understand that card games, obviously it's massive stock density. You can get a lot of money on a single shelf compared to, say, well, maybe not Games Workshop. It is like worth its weight in gold now, isn't it? But, some other miniature games, big boxes, less stuff in it. So are you going to do card games and stuff, or are you keeping it Games Workshop?
No, that is the ambition. We do want to cater to lots of different games and for lots of different people. The likes of D&D, Pokemon cards. And I think initially we are sticking to Games Workshop products because we are set up for that at the moment. I think the next kind of expansion will be maybe getting in some different paint ranges for the hobby side of things. But the biggest thing for us at the moment is we are currently opening the gaming cafe above the shop. So we just purchased 5 Game Mat EU tables to go in above the shop, and we're going to create a gaming cafe as well. So it gives people somewhere to play as well as, purchase the models. Because I think it's a fair trek for people in Catterick Garrison for when they want to go and play somewhere. It's a 20 minutes, half an hour. But now, hopefully in the next month or two, it'll be on the doorstep.
That's amazing, mate. Well, I think it's such sort of an important third space. In a world where like the UK pub is dying, we've never really had a cafe culture as such. But I play in Element Games in Stockport, which is obviously a huge venue, absolutely enormous, and it's rammed every single night of the week. And I've gone through the journey of second child, and I just thought I can't face hangovers anymore, so I've stopped boozing a few years ago.
Exactly the same. Yeah, I haven't drank for about 3 years.
But where that pub thing, I mean, it's fine, but it kind of loses its appeal. Being there at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. when you're the only person not drinking, the novelty soon wears off, or it did for me. But somewhere like a gaming cafe, a board game cafe, even better for me, a tabletop gaming centre, miniatures.
Yeah,
that's where it's at. So yeah, I think it's like an important community service as much as anything. I think it's a very kind of noble thing to do. So what plans have you got for that space? You're going to be running tournaments, or are you just going to get the tables in and see how it pans out?
So I think initially we're going to get the tables in. I think we can get around, using the space, between 5 and 6 tables. So tournaments will probably be a stretch, I would say, because we don't have many tables. But what we can do is we can offer the space for like teams matches, for example. So let's say different regiments in Catterick Garrison have their own team. Well, they can come to our store and they can have a full teams match now. So, they've got the 5 players. They go in, they do the pairings, and they play the game, which I think will be certainly unique to the area. So, yeah, I think it'll be a really good prospect.
So, presumably these are 6 foot by 4 foot tables, like the competition 40k tables. So are you going to consider doing skirmish? Because something like, particularly if you have a war, Games Workshop heavy environment, kill team's an obvious choice, isn't it? Because that single table, which is potentially 2 people for 4 hours, is suddenly 8 people, who are going to be gone after 2 hours. You can get, you're going to have a kill team night, presumably.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we will. I mean, we'll cater, basically, we will cater to whatever the community want. That's the top and bottom of it. If somebody comes and says, can we have smaller tables so we can play card games? Well, then guess what? We'll get smaller tables so they can play card games. If they want tables or mats or terrain for skirmishes, well, then we'll get that. Yeah. So the tables, 6 foot by 4 foot is the size, and then I think 3 of them are going to be 60 inches by 44, which is the exact size of the mat. The 6 foot by 4 foot, you can get the dice tray and the cards and the army on the side, which we've only got 2 of them just because of the size of the space.
Oh, that sounds great. So obviously with that becomes, gamers who are now wanting drinks and food and stuff. So you're going to do all that kind of carry on as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it. Like I mentioned before, we have my mum and dad own a sandwich shop, which will be literally downstairs. So that's called Delish. Yeah. So we'll be able to provide fruit, refreshments, and maybe one day get a alcohol license and fill people full of booze.
It's like
while
you've
they're
thought
there.
this through, mate. It's like you've actually planned this out in advance, isn't it?
I promise
Very
you, I
good.
haven't.
Well, all the best ideas kind of emerge, don't they? So
Yeah.
you've got the store, you've got all this brilliant infrastructure coming in. You said that you actually got approached by Games Workshop. So I've always wondered how, you get products in for something like this. I run a business, Tabletop Upgrades, I've talked about on the podcast many times, and I manufacture gaming accessories. If you're on the video podcast, you can see my laser and stuff in the background. And I've dabbled with the idea of carrying stock, and I've approached a few distributors, and I've never really taken it on, because if you're selling purely in the online space, it's a bit of a commodity. It's just how quickly can you deliver the stock, and can you do it at the cheapest price? And it's a race to the bottom. So I think doing it purely online for the product isn't, unless you've got a good community. I know someone in the Malifaux space who gives an awful lot to the Malifaux community, but sells online, and people go to him, quite rightly so, to support him and the stuff he does. But if you're trading online purely it's a race to the bottom, I think. So what you're doing works quite well, because you're adding all this value, with the sandwiches, with the gaming space, with the community, the third space. But physically, how do you get the gear in your shop? How does that all work? Educate me.
So I'll start from the very beginning. Obviously, I've been into Warhammer not for very long now, so maybe 2 years, maybe 2.5 years now. But I was just in work one day, and I got a phone call off my dad. He said, "Pete, I've just had a phone call from someone at Games Workshop," and I was like, "Okay, this is weird." And he said, "There isn't a stockist in our area, and they've had a look around, and his store kind of fits the mold the best, and he wondered if we'd be interested in becoming a stockist for Games Workshop." And I was like, "I'm not gonna lie, Dad, this sounds dodgy. Like, how much money do they want?" And he was like, "Well, it's a good amount of money for the initial stock." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Send me the guy's name and the email address, and I'll do a bit of research, because someone calling you up and asking for thousands of pounds is a bit dodgy." But it's
for sure.
It is. So I did a bit of research, and the email came back to Games Workshop. The guy's name worked for Games Workshop, and I was like, "Oh, this is legit. Like, this is pretty insane." I said, "I think we have to do it, Dad." And he was like, "Yeah." He said, "Is there any money in it?" And I was like, "Oh, you don't know. You don't know."
It's bigger than the UK fishing industry, mate. There's no minister for Space Marines, is there? There should be.
I know. It's crazy. So then we just jumped in feet first, and we ordered the initial stock, and then now we have a rep that calls us once a week, and he goes through any sort of points that they've got for us, any new releases that are coming, or anything like a stock check coming up, and then I go through all of my orders for the week, so that people are pre-ordering or ordering any products, and then we get sent an invoice, we pay it, and within a few days the stock arrives in the shop.
That's amazing, isn't it? And the people that I've known who are involved with Games Workshop directly are quite jealous of the independents, because you get a better deal than Games Workshop stores themselves. What used to be, it's not Games Workshop anymore, is it? It's the Warhammer shop. The Warhammer shops they don't get as agreeable terms as you guys, do they?
I don't know. I think we get quite a good gig. It's too bad. I can only speak for what we get offered, and it's pretty good. I mean, the margins aren't huge, don't get me wrong. It's more about trying to sell volume rather than making a lot on one product, especially when, as an independent store, I think it's good practice to be cheaper than Games Workshop. I think that's a real unique selling point is we are 10% cheaper than our models. All the models are 10% cheaper than Games Workshop. But obviously there's places out there that are much cheaper than 10% cheaper than Games Workshop, but we can't compete with those sort of businesses and those sort of prices. Certainly not at the minute.
Yeah, but you don't, in a sense, you don't have to, because what you're adding, you're not the person who is going to be selling it dirt cheap on the internet. And in my experience in my business, if you go for the bottom dollar, it just attracts idiots. Like if you switch, if you sell, do you know what I mean? If you sell it at a fair price, you get fair people. Whereas
Yeah,
if you sell it
that's
the
fair enough.
cheapest, you get people who want the cheapest, who quite often, in my experience, have got issues attached to them. So you're providing all this community thing. So one of the classics for independents and game stores is particularly those who are wanting to set up a scene, is the Grow League, which I'm sure you're familiar with, where you'll say like, right, we're starting off, I'm not familiar with 40k at the moment, but you say we're starting off with 200 points this week. Week 2, we're doing 400 points. So you're going to sell them some gear, they're going to compete, and the rules complexity and money spent ramps up over the weeks. Is that something you're going to investigate?
Do you know what? It might be something we look at in the future. I think the community that we've built so far, I think in our WhatsApp community, we've got around 42 people. Every single one of them just wants to support the local store. They just want to support the shop. They want to be part of the community. You know, we've got one of them in particular is a commissioned painter who can get models cheaper elsewhere. But then he comes to us because he wants to support, you know, the local businesses, which is amazing. It really is. And, you know, so we try and help him at times and vice versa. He uses our store. But that's one thing I've noticed so far is that the community aspect of owning a hobby store it's absolutely amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it is such a cliche, isn't it? Talking about the community. We often do it with regards to this podcast and the Discord server that we've got. But it's fantastic, isn't it? And because it is, you know, it's not just, you're not just trading widgets and products, you're enabling a hobby and a lifestyle. So, like I said, and you're providing the third space, which is a really noble thing to do. You know, you could have that as warehouse space and shift more products cheaper, but you're choosing to do it the way you do, which I think is very honourable and a brilliant service to the area you're in. But listen, we best wrap up we're pushing the barrier of 30-minute tabletop yet again, but we must have you back on, Pete, once you're a bit more established, you're down the line and you can share a few more stories. But just before we do wrap up, is there anywhere where people can check you out online, or what's the best way people can follow you and support you?
So we don't have a website at the moment, something I'm looking into. But if you follow Battle Pads Hobby Shop on Instagram and Facebook, you can find us there. And then for those of you who are interested, me and a few friends run a little gaming, I would call it a club, called BDK Gaming. We post like funny gaming clips and post our Warhammer results and tournaments. We post them all on there. So Battle Pads Hobby Shop on Instagram and BDK Gaming. So I would love it if you could come and give us a follow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly make sure that links are in the description of this show for that. But that will bring our discussion to an end. And thank you so much for coming on. And we'll see the rest of you in the next episode. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.